Welcome to the FullTiltPoker.net $1 Million Cash Game. We have got the best in the business fighting it out over some monster pots here in London as they search for the much coveted Season 3 title. Let's get you straight back to your commentators as the action continues. Gary Jones and David Tuckman.
We're at the FullTiltPoker.net $1 Million Cash Game.
What do you want?
And of course, our new player in the game, Mike the Mouth Matusow. We can all remember him in the first year of the $1 Million Cash Game, losing $200,000. And there's the turn 7 of diamonds, and the river. And the river's a 7. I cannot believe it.
My lucky poker. That's why I want to do something. You guys don't know how bad I run in poker.
I got him covered.
You guys think it's crazy, but you don't know me. You just don't know how bad I run in poker.
Well, in this pot we've got Tom Dwan raising it up to 2,000. Chris Ferguson's already called. 4 to the flop. Mike Matusow straight into the action. David Benjamin as well.
It's very difficult to run over the great players, but he has a chance to do it.
No one's ever done it. Even when I
well, David Benjamin flopping a straight and a flush draw.
He tried.
A pair for Matusow. Chop pair for Chris Ferguson.
We can see that Benjamin only has ace high right now, but he is a favorite against the field to win this pot. Ferguson, of course, with top pair, top kicker.
And carefully, that it was a joke. How perfectly he played. How he dissected that table. And now,
betting a call
there's some kind
from
of
durrrr and Chris Ferguson.
Unbelievable at that. I'm not saying another word. I love it. Me too.
Obviously, Ferguson in the pot. Anytime he's in the pot, the players had better pay attention because he's usually in there with something.
Well, that could be a bit of an action card between David Benjamin and Chris Ferguson. Chris in the best shape right now.
Of course, Dwan will probably get rid of his 8s, find a better spot. This is a spot where Benjamin could lose some chips, though.
I don't think he's going to go too fast against Chris Ferguson. Once Chris has called the bet on the flop, if he calls another bet or makes another bet now, you can be pretty sure your ace with a deuce kicker is not going to be good.
And that's a whole lot of $1,000 chips. And it's a $20,000 pot into a $30,000 pot. Is Benjamin getting the odds to call this one?
Well, he's got all 9 of his hearts. Well, 8 because 1's gone from Tom Dwan, plus the 3 threes. So it's pretty marginal on whether he's actually getting his odds straight away, but maybe he's going to get some implied odds if he actually catches his card. But he's probably thinking there was a chance his ace might be good. I know I probably wouldn't think my ace is good in that spot, but...
Well, it doesn't make a difference as the inconsequential 9 of diamonds hits the river. And you imagine Chris Jesus Ferguson, the 2000 World Series of Poker champion, is going to value bet here.
Oh, definitely.
And it looks like maybe a $25,000 pot. And I think if you're Benjamin, I think it's an easy fold, isn't it?
I don't know. That's what we're just talking about.
I think so.
I mean, of course, it's $110,000 in the pot. And pardon me, it's actually...
Well, there's a call here from David Benjamin. He thinks that Chris might be bluffing. That's pretty well the only hand he could beat.
Wow, unbelievable. Unbelievable there. $40,000 bet there from Chris Ferguson. David Benjamin pays him off. And he is now our big winner. And of course, there is the leaderboard. Chris Ferguson at the top of it, up nearly $150,000. Phil Hellmuth, you see, up $8,000. The rest of the table is down. Tom Dwan down $135,000.
He got to me once or twice, but I mean, if you're a great poker player, you can't let somebody, I mean, he's like a fly. If you let the flies get to you, then you lose, you know.
He's sitting almost next to me, so I have to listen to him all the time. He's never gonna lose a battle on a table. He's Mike the Mouth.
I've always been a great cash game player. A lot of people think different.
I lost a $100,000 pot with Zach scenario online the other day.
People say I'm known as an emotional person.
You just don't know how bad I run in poker.
Well, I've learned over the years to control my emotions.
It doesn't even faze me.
You're right.
I expect to lose it.
I'm gonna come in with a super tight image, like they always think I'm real tight. And once I establish that image, it's gonna allow me to open up my game a little bit. I'm really good at reading people, and I'm really good at picking off bluffs by picking off things that people do. The way people throw their chips in, the way I look at the way they look at their cards. I see whether they like their hand or not, and I am the best at that, and that's what makes my strength.
It takes a certain mentality to be able to deal with the ups and downs without cracking.
Anybody can play great when they're winning. It's who can sit there and get pounded day after day after day and keep pouncing back. And you ask anybody in poker who's been pounded more than Mike Matusow and bounced back, they're not going to say many. I got a lot of heart. That's what I'm known for. A lot of heart. Bounce back off the table and just keep coming back.
To get started, one player is made the nominated dealer or button. Then the two players to the left post the small and big blinds. These are force bets to get the action started. The big blind is always double the small, but unlike a tournament, the blinds rarely change. However, they are sometimes increased to spice up the action. We start here with $300 and $600. There's also an ante of $100 per player, which must be paid if they want to play in a hand. Once the blinds and antes are posted, everyone is dealt 2 cards. We have a round of betting. Then 3 cards are placed face up on the table, called the flop. These are the community cards for all the players to use. Then we have another round of betting, after which the 4th card, the turn, is placed in the middle. This is followed by some more betting and the last community card, the river. Then we finish off with a final round of betting. The best 5-card hand takes the money.
We're at the FullTiltPoker.net $1 Million Cash Game. Buttons in front of Phil Hellmuth.
He said, you put 20, you put, first he said you put 20,000, and I put, and I give you a 3,000 juice. I said, okay. Then he said, like about 2 hours later, he said, now you put, I put 100,000 and you put 89,000. And you know what? I didn't chicken out.
I could play that game.
What did you do? He put up 189 on what, a coin flip or something?
I'm showing.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. I would have done it. I said, let's do it 100 times. I would have told him. One time, he's probably like 4-to-1 favorite. Just like Gus when he has Ace-3 against Ace-King. One time, he's like 3-to-1
durrrr, what is the deal, kid? You don't think it's an advantage to sit on your left, huh? He raised like he's raised every pot now.
We gotta stop calling. Why do y'all keep saying durrrr? Let's just call him Tom. I'm sick of everybody's durrrr.
If
I mean, we don't sit there and say.
If he asked me to call him Tom, I'd call him Tom.
Or I don't care.
He likes durrrr. That's why we call him durrr.
I don't care.
Because I started getting in the habit of calling durrrr, and I'm like, you know what? That's just not right. I mean, that'd be like.
Mike, if a guy wants to be called durrrr, let him be called durrrr.
I prefer Tom.
Yeah, you prefer Tom.
Check.
Well, David Benjamin's still in front with the pair of 3s. He's not going to know that. Goes check.
How would he know that? And of course, Dwan has picked up even more outs here. Any heart, any ace, any queen, or any jack.
Goes check. He seems to have slowed down an awful lot, Tom. Well, he's going to be quite happy with that river card. There isn't really a hand that David Benjamin can beat right now, though. Not a genuine hand, anyway. I think there's a few hands we've seen that Tom's raised with which might possibly have missed this flop.
Pass 8-8.
Well, Benjamin not going to lose anything there.
Sorry?
Tom Dwan finally winning a pot, nothing really going his way.
When I first started playing live, I definitely did quite a few things wrong. I believe that I've learned pretty well. I've played a bunch of live poker in the last few months, but definitely there was a pretty steep learning curve for those first few weeks or first month, where there were just a lot of little intricacies of live poker that I was missing.
We're at the FullTiltPoker.net $1 Million Cash Game. 7 players at the table. Phil Ivey taking a little bit of a break. And what do we have going on here? We've got a small blind, a big blind, a straddle, and then apparently David Benjamin is putting in a double straddle. What is that?
Well, basically we've got 300, 600 for the normal blinds. We've got 1,200 from Mike Matusow. That's just called a straddle. It's an optional over blind. And then it's gone to 2,400, another over blind, double the previous blind from David Benjamin. And really getting the action going.
And is his blind live as well?
It is. Doesn't happen in all cash games, but they're allowing it in this.
Pass.
And then we've got another re-raise from Tom Dwan. Well, or rather the first real actual action from seeing your cards from Tom Dwan. But he's walked into a hand with Chris Ferguson.
Of course, it's been Chris Ferguson's day. Up almost 150,000 already. And he's got to love this situation. All that dead money in there.
And he really has beaten up on Tom Dwan. Durrrr.
26,000.
Well, that's a little bit of a raise, boys and girls. I don't see any aces or kings here. I'm going to fold.
Oh, you look. I was looking at the sense of the king.
Well, David almost teasing us a bit with his, showing us just the ace first.
Fun table this next 3-4 hours, I'll tell you.
And David Benjamin, just before he made his 2,400 live straddle, he did buy in for another $200,000. And he's called the re-raise from Chris Ferguson. Now Tom Dwan, who's stuck the most in this game, this could be an opportunity for him to maybe get out of it. Well, he's called. It's going to be 3 to the flop.
Yeah, and Dwan is in really bad shape.
7, 2, 2.
That's a pretty good flop for pocket queens.
Oh, you gotta love that flop. Absolutely love that flop if you're Chris Ferguson.
Everybody pay 500 too. The guy win the pot and you get 500.
Very dry flop there. Rainbow, 7 deuce deuce. You can see the percentages. Ferguson way ahead, $80,000 pot.
Well, David's looking like he wants to have a bet, hoping that Chris Ferguson is sitting there with ace-king.
Well, I think the pot is just too big for him to give it up, which is why he's going to take a shot at it. And sure enough, he bets $38,000.
About half the size of the pot.
Pass.
Durrrr decides to go. Now.
And I'm pretty sure that Chris Ferguson is going nowhere. Now, normally I would say he might just move all in here, but they're both very deep.
Yeah, it's a very, very deep pot. Very, very deep pockets for these two in this pot. And David Benjamin's not only called a raise, he's called a raise and a re-raise. Pretty well cold. Volunteered 24,000 from a re-raise from Chris Ferguson.
Does Ferguson need to decide right now if his queens are good?
Well, it looks like that's what he's decided to go for. 125,000, the bet from Chris Ferguson. Nearly $250,000 in this pot.
Real money there, $243,000 up for grabs. Action back to Benjamin. Not much there for Benjamin.
Probably just got it going through his head whether he thinks if he moves all in, if he can get Chris to lay it down.
Chris has already committed over $100,000 to this pot. Is there any way he can fold this?
Well, I think he's only got about 95 to 100,000 left. I very much doubt it. I think David's going to know that as well. I think he's just making it look like he's laying down some sort of a hand.
It's almost as if he's playing this.
Well,
like
he's passed.
And Ferguson is going to take down a monster pot, nearly $250,000.
Incredible. Nearly $250,000 straight over to this man.
God, you are a gambling man.
Look at that profit of $241,000. He is by far our big winner.
My preference is for tournaments, but I still love cash games. But the cash games I like to play are when you're playing against the best players in the world, and that's what we got in this lineup today.
The last couple times I played with him in the cash game, he's won. You know, he plays a little differently, plays a little tighter than I would like him to play, but it works for him.
He's very, very tight. He's like a nit. He's like the nittiest person in the world, and he's the cheapest person in the world, and he's never going to put a chip in the pot without a hand playing cash games. Now in tournaments, it's different. But Chris is pretty darn tight playing cash games.
I think what makes a great high-stakes cash game player is someone who's not going to go on tilt, someone who can control their tempers, someone who's not going to get upset easily, because often players can get upset in a cash game if they lose a big hand, and that can really affect the way they play.
Patience is the #1 thing in the cash games. You know, you look at the greatest cash game players in history, they've all had a lot of patience.
You never get a tell or read off Chris Ferguson. He always calculates everything out, so just methodical, very tough.
I'm really analyzing how to play hands in a game theoretic approach. I'm not so much trying to analyze my opponents. I'm not one who goes and looks at films very often and tries to analyze opponents that way. I'm much more of an analytical player.
He picks his spots very carefully. That's his strength.
In poker, you know, you have to figure out what works for you and, you know, be able to play that style, figure out a way to win it. He's done it, and he's done it effectively.
Welcome back to the Full Tilt Poker.net $1 Million Cash Game, where the action is really beginning to get serious. Let's hand you straight back to your commentators, Gary Jones and David Tuckman.
Chris will tell you what he has. He won't tell you what he has.
Yeah.
Buttons in front of Patrick Antonius. We get another live straddle here from Benjamin.
I'm betting 5,000. I'm betting 5,000 on one of the top two.
Chris Ferguson with ace-8 in the cutoff.
No, I already bet him 5,000.
Now, for most of these players, that hand's good enough to raise and try to steal.
Just aces. Can I get like 2 to 1?
If any of them were going to lay it down, it might have been Chris, but no, he's going to follow suit. He's going to raise it up.
Look at
He
that.
can certainly afford it, having such a good day.
Hey, look at that stack in front of Chris Ferguson. Those black chips are $25,000 each.
No, it's just even money I take. Come on, you know it's a good bet. Hold on.
Action over to Patrick Antonius.
Mike Matusow not paying quite enough attention, passing out a turn there. I know it's unusual, but I think he was too busy talking.
Two call.
Really? What's he going to do? Raise it 125 right there with 2 queens? He's committed.
And Chris Ferguson cannot like the call behind him.
I'm with you, Phil. They're going to bet me whatever you can bet. What kind of odds can I get that he had just aces? Is anybody going to lay me odds? David is going to bet you whatever you want.
Well, Ferguson has outflopped him. He's got second pair, top kicker. How do you play this, though, against a very dangerous Patrick Antonius behind you?
Well, it looks like he's going to play a little bit sneaky. He doesn't know where he is against Patrick. Patrick's actually played a pretty solid game. Got involved in the very first hand in a blind all-in against Phil Ivey. Lost 100,000 and then has hardly played much since.
You want to do on the kings and aces now? Any of them? Even money? Kings or aces for another 5. How good you are, David.
The checker, Chris, has induced a bluff from Patrick. Check call seems about the right play in this spot.
Well over $1.5 million on the table. And a lot of it right in front of Chris Jesus Ferguson. Well, that's
that 10 changes things.
Yeah, it's a bad card for Chris Ferguson. Patrick Antonius picks up his pair of 10s and is an overwhelming favorite to win this pot. And one thing that's great about Patrick Antonius, he always seems to know where he's at. He might be able to extract value with second pair.
Well, I'm not sure how much Chris is going to get involved now. He's got 2 overcards. If he was up against some sort of a draw, that 10's going to have hit it, even if it's just for a pair. I think a bet's going to end the action in this pot.
Chris Jesus Ferguson, so deliberate with every decision. Hard to find fault in anything he's done today, up nearly $250,000.
Yeah, I don't think he's made one single mistake.
Did he miss a bet here on the flop?
Well, he probably doesn't like it that much. And he induced a bluff from Patrick, so... Well, he's made a mistake here. He's called this. I can't see that there's any hand he can be beating. That isn't a bluff. Well, we're going to see the river. That queen's no help. We might even see a check here.
You're saying an ace of the king too, right? You? Wow, then you really played bad.
And it does go check indeed. I was going to ask you if Chris Ferguson could represent something like ace-king of hearts.
It has to be quite a decent-sized bet with the ace-king. Patrick Antonius pretty happy to take this one down, I think. I think Chris kind of worked it out. There was a decent chance he was behind.
I would say the best strength in my poker is the feel for the game. I really feel how my opponents are betting, what they're telling me. Their body languages are telling that if they have strong hands or weak hands, and I can make good decisions based on that.
We get another straddle, and we've got Phil Ivey in the game.
You just missed some great action here, buddy, and side action.
How much you winning, David? You bluffing again?
No, he just gifted away about 300,000.
Come on. He just bought another 200.
Come on, Patrick. Just 5 dimes.
Who won it?
No, he gave it away. Nobody won it.
You know Chris did not win it, right? Chris did not buy again. You know who won it?
Nobody won it. It was just given away.
Look, he counting. Must be nice. All right, I need more money.
I heard this table was like really quiet. Nobody was having fun before I got here. Do I influence you all like this?
Yeah, it's all you, Mike.
So what? Are the bets all down? Are we all down on the bets for the
No,
side
we're
action?
not down. Patrick and I are negotiating another bet.
Cool.
Patrick Antonius with the 9-7 offsuit.
Before the flop, there was 30.
Could have raised. Perhaps he thought everyone else was involved in conversation. He could steal the blinds, but Tom Dwan's not used to giving up his blind easily.
Well, both players have missed this flop. It's heads up. Let's see who bets it and probably takes it down.
The flop was deuce.
And sure enough, Patrick Antonius takes advantage of his position.
And his pre-flop aggression to take that one down.
That'll work too. These are side bets. This is like you can't pay away from the table anyway.
No, I'm not done yet. I want to bet more, but I want to get Queens to break even.
Buttons in front of Ben. Phil Ivey with the live straddle. And the action is on. Chris Jesus Ferguson, our biggest winner thus far. He's not going to play.
Look how good your instincts your whole life has been. It's been made you who you are.
He could have had Queens. The only other hand that scares me is Queens.
I'm here to have fun, man. That's what they bring me in for, to liven up these wet noodles.
It's the battle of the Phils.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing a hand since I've been here.
I better raise it up a little bit.
You do that.
And Hellmuth going to raise it up.
I'm working.
3,000
I just
more.
want to get this bet out of the way, man.
Ivey encourages him.
Well, I don't think he's actually going to get rid of him for 3,000.
Especially
Ace
not
Jack for Phil Ivey.
Yeah, especially not when he has that hand. And he's got to like that flop there. He's flopped 2 pair. Both players are 2 pair. But not sure Hellmuth likes his 2 pair anymore.
5,000. Cool.
I don't think Phil wants to lose his customer there. He thinks he's probably pretty strong.
8. Check.
Hellmuth checks it.
No.
12,000.
And Ivey bets 12,000. This is the problem with a pair of deuces. Hard to know where you're at.
I mean, is this even possible? Yeah. I guess it's possible. It's unbelievable. I mean, I never win 1 pot from you in the small blind, huh? I play fast, I lose. With, of course, a hand. I play slow, I lose. I have a feeling I might have you this hand, though. I have a feeling I might have you.
Cool.
Well, he's managed to get a loose call there from Phil.
13 shade.
I think Phil Ivey knows he's ahead.
Yeah, I don't think Phil Hellmuth would be doing that much of play acting with a hand that can beat Ace Jack.
Phil is definitely going to win this pot. That was a good read.
I mean, has Hellmuth given away the strength of his hand by the way he acted?
I think so.
32,000.
I think Phil can value bet this with pretty well impunity.
Well, he has value bet it.
That's why when Gus is in my game, I look, he sits down and says, Gus, you have 1 minute to act on your hand. And there will be a clock call. Same with John Sam. Anytime they sit in my game in a tournament, they were told before the second right away. Such a waste of time.
Hellmuth trying to work this out. All he can beat is a bluff.
$75,000 in the pot.
Phil Ivey giving nothing away.
That's what it's going to cost him. Looks like the bet is 32,000.
Those red chips are $1,000 chips. Black chip, $25,000. And he is going to call this, and he is going to be very disappointed when Phil Ivey turns over his ace jack.
Great bet at the river.
Thanks. He doesn't really have that many chips in front of him. I guess he probably should rebuy if he plans on busting me. But whatever, you know, it's poker, and you know, we'll see what happens.
He played the hand well with the ace jack. He made a good bet, but I mean, I think that for him to bet 32,000 with 2 pair there, I mean, it's a mistake, and I'm going to take advantage of it if I can ever pick up a hand against him. You know, I mean, I think that, but I mean, because I called, and you know, because I called, he played it perfect. But I think it was an overbet he made on the river, and you know, I mean, I was a little frustrated because he's beat me so many times blind against blind for the last few years, and I've watched some of the bluffs on television. You know what I mean? And so, just a frustrating hand for me. I mean, you know, I mean, but you know, I mean, I should have folded for the 32,000.
Welcome back to the biggest televised cash game in Europe. Let's take you straight back to the action.
3,000.
I gave him 8 to 5. That was ridiculous.
And call the press, Chris Ferguson is straddling.
He's getting into the spirit of the game. A race up there from Ellie with ace-king. And Tom, so far today, bad timing, durrrr. Looks like he's going to re-raise.
Now, we've seen this time and time again from durrrr on his button. Is he overplaying the button?
10,008.
To be honest, I think he's overplaying Lederer. Lederer is the person at the table that is just so not afraid to gamble with him. If Ellie's got half of a hand, he's already shown he's prepared to stick his entire stack in there with jacks against Phil Ivey's aces. So he's just not afraid to gamble with those kind of half hands for your entire stack. And the re-raise from Dwan.
Lederer.
For once, he's only flat calling.
Cool.
And Lederer, once a top soldier in the Israeli military, he knows pressure.
Check.
Well, he hasn't caught any of that. This might actually be an opportunity for durrrr to pick up a pot for once.
And he's got a gut shot and he's got overcards. And he's a 3-to-1 favorite over durrrr. But how does he know it? And it goes check, check.
I think the problem with that check is it's probably going to make Ellie think he's out in front.
Although Dwan has now picked up an open-ended straight draw. Can catch an 8 or a 3.
You blow up against another big Romanian like you did at the World Series, you might not make it 40 more years.
Lederer there has bet. And he's bet the pot pretty much, $25,000.
This is so much fun, boys and girls. Will somebody stop picking on Hellmuth? Thank you.
Do you raise with the draw?
Well, he doesn't know it, but he's actually pretty well being priced in, especially if he thinks he might get even a small bet on the end, but he doesn't know his 6 or 7's live. He probably thinks he's got 8 live cards.
You're trying to trap the great Phil Ivey, man.
That's what I do, Mike.
He's untrappable. Even if you have him like he's got 2 outs in the deck, he's got you trapped.
Yeah, that's the thing they don't know, Mike.
I do know that.
At least you know it.
I learned when I lost 160,000 playing like 40-80 Omaha 8 or whatever I lost. I mean, I've never seen anybody come from behind in every single hand. That's when I learned that he was untrappable. Where he was.
Tell you that?
That's where I learned where he was in life.
Long time ago.
Before full tilt really.
Well, it looks like he's actually announced raise.
He has, in fact, raised.
He beat me, actually, playing 8160, he beat me for 100,000. So whatever that was. No, it was 8160, about 100,000. Whatever. I mean, like, I have deuce, jack.
Wow, what a play. Talk about heart from the internet star. He has moved all in with the open-ended straight draw. And this play just might work.
No, I don't get scooped. I'm sorry. The flop comes jack 8, and he 4-bets.
Yeah, he's decided to put the pressure back on. He's got outs if he gets a caller.
He's got the 4, 5, 6, 9. And it comes to the ace on the river, and he gets half. But he made sure to get
And you pointed it out. If there's one player at this table who's willing to gamble with him, it could be Ellie.
If I was going to pick a player at this table not to push around, it would be Ellie. The thing about Ellie is for starters, he's mostly a limit player rather than a pot limit or a no limit player. So he's used to making marginal calls. Pot odds usually isn't the thing that goes through your mind quite as much when you're playing in
I'm always listening, Phil. What were you talking about?
these kind of
I don't care if
situations.
they're listening. I'm always listening.
Pot is $169,000. It's 100,000, a little bit over 100,000.
Let's have some shots.
So Lederer, can he call this with just ace-king?
And I don't drink.
Well, Ellie might have it going through his mind that you can catch an ace, a king, or a queen. Wouldn't be a good call, even if that is the case, but still.
He's not, I mean, if he thinks the ace, the king, or the queen are good, he's still not getting 2 to 1 on his money.
So exactly, he still should pass, but...
I mean, the only way you can really call this is if he thinks Dwan is on a move, which is exactly what Dwan has. Such a strong play here from durrrr with the 6-7.
I suppose you wanted to remind me right now in the middle of my steam. Thank you for that.
Phil, or David, I owe you money again.
Sorry, buddy.
Or are you going to get what you have coming?
Absolute enormous pot, $169,000.
I had nothing, real nothing.
He had a zipperoni.
I had real nothing. I put him in the middle. If you have ace king, you probably lay down.
Let me tell you something. After I made the bet with him,
I'll make a move.
he wouldn't let me out of the bet after I made the bet with him, and I knew I had.
And he's passed the heart of the 22-year-old internet professional. The heart of the internet professional has won a pot, and we've got a smile off durrr's face.
What card?
We're at the FullTiltPoker.net $1 million cash game.
Mike, you got 2,000 after every
And our big winner so far is Chris Jesus Ferguson. He is dominating the felt, and he is up over $200,000.
Two?
We've really been playing a marvelous game tonight.
Anyone that you're in. Is that no?
And of course, David Benjamin has bought in for another $200,000. He is now in this game for $500,000, and he finds himself down $78,000 right now.
Not anyway. I'll make it. I'll never wear sunglasses at any place that you're at, any game you're at.
And the button is in front
table that's not
of
like
Phil Hellmuth.
Everybody knows me.
Phil Hellmuth
What's that?
only has $51,900 in front of him.
Everyone I enter, so
Almost short stacked at this table.
Cool. I actually hate wearing them.
And we get a live straddle from
I do
Patrick
like
Antonius.
a lot of good players that I play with for years.
You are the man, Mike.
I feel like that maybe they might have something on me.
Ellie Lederer playing.
But other than that, I never wear them.
Up to 5,000.
And Ivey raising. Makes it 5,000 to go in the small blind.
Should not be allowed.
Chris out. Patrick Antonius in for 1,200. That was the live straddle. They've been putting the overblind on this.
Cool.
He's going to call this, and that might bring in Ellie Lederer.
Ellie doesn't need much of an excuse to be brought in.
Well, he's got the suited ace.
I couldn't beat fives. That hand.
What's going on here?
Here's the call.
Cool.
What do you want me to do? I mean, I know I've seen on tape him run me over blind. So
And we're going to see this 3 ways.
The fast play hand, he just sucked at everything. It's unbelievable.
Pot is now $16,400. Oh, wow, and that's a big, big flop for Ellie Lederer. He's flopped 2 pair, and Ivey's got top pair.
There's a few cards that Phil can catch to get out of this. King or a queen will help.
And of course, queen won't help that much because Antonius will make it straight.
I think we can be pretty certain Patrick Antonius is going to be out of this pot pretty soon.
Actually, that's not true. If only one company.
Well, it's a $10,000 bet. Actually, a $12,000 bet, pardon me, from Phil Ivey.
No, well, I disagree.
Action over to Antonius. We have the makings of a monster pot here.
It's very true. That was almost a bad bet on my part.
Phil's not in the money management. That's my deal.
You are a good money manager.
That's my deal. I'm the money manager.
You are.
Well, Antonius is not folding so quickly.
Your money manager?
No, Chris Ferguson's a better money manager than I am.
He's possibly hoping to call with position on Phil. He's cool.
Well, do you think maybe he's in there hoping for the queen, but if a club comes, he can represent a flush?
Well, I don't think he's going to get to see it. I'm pretty sure.
I always make sure Chris has fun.
So Ellie's going to raise this.
You need to be true, too.
Raising to 52 total bet.
And he makes it 52,000.
Total bet.
And look at this pot. It has ballooned up to $92,000. And it's 40 more to Phil Ivey. No fear in a Lederer's game. Like most successful poker players. Absolutely fearless.
Raise into 125.
Well, it's 125,000 from Phil Ivey.
All in.
And Phil Ivey raised it to 125,000. Ellie is all in here.
And call from Phil Ivey.
And like you said, he's going to need a king or a queen.
Oh, man.
I'll bring him in.
And look at the size of this pot, $324,000.
No, not a flush. That's why he doesn't want you to wear that. It's for 2,000.
I'll just take any picture card, even if it's a jack. How about that? That's the kind of guy I am.
I'll take a 6 now.
Don't need to just iron you out.
He can catch a 9 now as well. Not going to happen. 4 spades on the river. And Phil Ivey loses a monster pot. Lederer wins a $324,000 pot.
That's the way that goes.
Hmm? Yeah. You just said hold the flop, yeah?
Well, the very first hand of this third season, he actually managed to get himself 100,000 in front. He's now 100,000 behind, and all that's gone to Lederer, of course. Pocket jacks against Phil Ivey's pocket aces. Esley managed to win that one.
And look at this. Of course, he's doing all right. He's up over $220,000. Get an updated leaderboard here. Lederer, our big winner now, up over $224,000. Chris Ferguson still having a fantastic day. He's up $211,000. But you can look at the losers here. Tom Dwan down $131,000. Phil Ivey down $107,000. Patrick Antonius down $96,000. We're just getting started.
Well, sadly, that's where we've got to leave it for now here at the FullTiltPoker.net $1 Million Cash Game. But we'll see you again next time for plenty more.